Hello, everybody at Develop. I'm Stevie Ward. I am a community developer at Future PLC, and I'm super excited to be doing this talk for you guys today on community development and how to build a community from scratch. I thought the best way to do this was to actually bring in somebody that runs a community that I've been working with this year. So I'd also like to introduce Sally Blake from Women Making Games.
Hello, hi, Develop. I'm really excited to talk about our community today. Stevie's helped us so much in terms of, especially just figuring out what to do at what point and how to build the community from scratch. So yeah, it's going to be really cool to talk about how that happened and your experience in the community as well. I know you've been working in community for 13 years already. You've worked on some really big brands, Eve Valkyrie, Activision's Guitar Hero Live. I know you do a lot of work with special effects as well. So yeah, loads of really cool stuff. So I'm excited to see your insights.
Oh, I'm super excited to be here.
Cool. Okay, so let's start from the top then. So in terms of building a community from scratch then, what's kind of the cheat code to building a massive community? Is there one? How do you even start?
So the main thing I hear from people about launching a new community is that they don't want to have what David Spinks, well, a lot of the theory from this comes from David Spinks from CMX. It's what he calls the empty dance floor. So, you're there on day one of launching your game or community and there's just nobody there. The fact is, maybe if you're expecting millions of users, you have an instant player base or user base. But if you're a new IP, you can't just open up a Steam page and instantly have one. There are many steps you need to put in place before you can grow and nurture a community from scratch. So let's take this talk, for example. You didn't just turn up. People at home, hello, you didn't just turn up. People worked out a talk on building community was something that people first of all wanted. Then they found the person they wanted to do it. They worked out how many people might be watching, what they'd want to hear, what they're passionate about. And then after that, they had to work out how to do it during COVID. Which is already like a massive thing. And they also wanted to be here, like you want to be here. You want to learn about something, maybe you just wanted a break from work, or maybe you just wanted to sit down. Either way, there's many different things that have to be put in place before we became this community of people here, you and me sat here talking to each other and everybody watching. And you asked about cheat codes. The fact is there isn't one. There isn't a one size fits all to growing a community from scratch because every community is different, which is where I come in. So the steps you need to take to grow your community are going to be bespoke to you. What you do on your next game is going to be very different to what EA needs to do, or what the dev sat next to you needs to do, or what someone down the road who wants to build a board game community needs to do. The good thing is once you have this specialty, you can also ask for more money, which is one of the things that if you're more senior, they do expect you to be able to grow one from scratch. And you can also be the type of CM. I see it a lot on job advertisements where they're looking for someone that can hit the ground running, because you're able to create strategies to build a community from scratch and not just sort of hope for the best, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, obviously with WOMG as well, we started the community from scratch, and you helped us develop where we should take the community, what kind of platforms we should use, and that kind of thing. So say I wanted to start a community from scratch, for example, for a game or a product. I know what the community is going to be. What are the next steps once you've kind of formulated the initial ideas that you want for your community?
So the first thing is obviously not know your enemy, I guess, know your friends. Work out who your community is and understand them. You know your game. You know what your game is and you know your devs. But a lot of the time people haven't thought about who they actually want to play it. Why do they want to interact with you? Why wouldn't they go somewhere else? And where were they before? So the best way to make this step work is to understand the potential members of your community, whether that's going hardcore into data analysis or looking at subreddits or doing surveys to find out where the people who are specifically into vampire RTSs in Coventry, where do they hang out? Or going where they are on the net and building relationships member by member at a time. Sometimes there isn't a growth hack. Sometimes you just need to do the work. Whilst you're doing this research step, you're going to find your competitors as well. So you'll find out where the people you want already are. and work out what your competitors have already done. Work out what your competitors messed up. Is it the transparency? Is it not understanding their player base? Work out why everybody preferred, I don't know if you ever saw the episode of Friends where it's like, why does everyone go to Rachel's party, not Monica's, or whichever way around it is. Work out who you want at your party and how to make it a better party. And then it becomes easier to recruit those members to your community. And once you have these people in mind, you'll want to create like a sense of exclusivity and closeness with your team. So sending out private invitations to betas, a lot of the time games companies, the beta is actually what they call a marketing beta. So the game's already pretty much done, but they're doing the beta to get that hardcore lot in who are really excited about that game, who want to play it first. Go to meetups, find people who might have opinions on games to find out how they feel about what it is you're making. I once recruited people to the space.com forum person by person, literally yelling on Facebook, does anyone in like space in my friendship group? Like I literally started from absolutely nothing. I found Facebook groups that had people in it that were enthusiastic about space, and I asked them to post on the forum before we launched it. There's no shame in asking people to start asking questions or organizing play sessions with friends and family first, so that you can grow from a group of people that are already passionate about your project and what it is you're doing. And if you do need to go out person by person to get that early interest, do. But remember, you can also growth hack by teaming up with somebody bigger than you. For example, most massive Reddits, if you ask the mods nicely, they'll let you post in their Reddits. Like they just want you to ask permission first. If your game's about pets, reach out to animal fan pages, pet shops, animal agencies. Ask them if their communities would be interested in helping you test your game. If your community is sci-fi, there's hundreds of like geeky sci-fi stores, STEM groups and forums that could help you if you wanted to fill up a play test, for example. If you're a streamer, I mean, the streamers have already nailed this because streaming groups are a thing. So they team up with a bigger fish and stream with them, and that helps them build their community because they're also kind of helping that person increase their content. So building relationships both above and below will help you grow your community in those early stages, especially if you leave a ladder down for other people to join you.
That makes sense. And it's about avoiding that empty dance floor feeling that you talked about earlier, so that you've always got somebody there. Even the starting members of a group can really push it forward. I know that when we started WOMG, there was only like 10 or 20 members to begin with, but those are the ones that really kept the community alive and kept asking, when's the next event? When are we going to chat online again? And they keep pushing it forward. And then, word of mouth gets out as well. So yeah, I can see how that definitely helps. So in terms of, what you want to create in your community and the next steps, in terms of like the practical side of it, like where should you be hosting in the community? What platforms are best for certain types of communities then?
Yeah, so your community obviously needs a place to come together. And this is what I was sort of mentioning earlier about like making sure this is bespoke to you, because hosting platforms is expensive. And a lot of the times people are putting energy into the completely wrong places than what they actually need. Like, do you really need to be on every social media platform? We worked out with Wonga that actually the Facebook group was working because it's where everybody was. We didn't want to bring them to another website that wasn't something where we could be secure. We didn't want them all to suddenly have to make an Instagram account to that be where we, showed pictures of events or anything like that. We really did think about what was best for that community to help it to grow. The other thing to think about is your team's bandwidth. So do you have the bandwidth to be posting in all these different places? Like, do you really need to create a whole new forum from scratch to talk about something? Would Discord be perfect for it and it already exists and there's already a lot of people on it? Is everybody you already need talking about that exact thing in a Facebook group with 1 million people? So at Future PLC, I work on live science and space.com, and a lot of communities already exist in Facebook groups and in different places, but they're tired of being there. They don't want to be on Facebook anymore. They want to find somewhere where they can talk about that one thing they're passionate about. So actually, being able to go, actually, this doesn't work for them. The moderation tools don't work for them, or the video sharing doesn't work, or they want somewhere they can share images more than they want to talk about things. Work out what it is you're trying to do, and that'll help you work out where to put your energy. And you need to be really careful where you host this stuff, because it becomes your tool for keeping people engaged. So Steam is where your game is. Are you making the most of the Steam tools that already exist? If you're on PlayStation, there's events widgets in there. Like, are you talking to that team a lot? Like, how is your dev relations going with the people that can make those tools the best for you? If you're thinking of starting out on Twitch, for example, work out if that is actually the best place for you to grow your brand, to put your face on, and why. Like, why wouldn't you go somewhere else? Why is that where you want to be, as opposed to YouTube or Facebook gaming or anything like that? These are all big decisions to make if you're growing any kind of community like that. So once you've worked out where you want to be, work out what pathways people need to take to find you and make them as easy as possible. I call this the bottleneck. Like, if they're a fighting game fan and they only hang out in one group on Facebook, how do you get them to hang out with you, talk to you, play your game? And all of these different solutions are going to be bespoke to what your game is and the type of people you're trying to get a hold of. But if you can identify sort of 3 different bottlenecks to your online or offline space, you can work on throwing your energy at them, which is, again, because it's bespoke, it's very difficult to nail down, like, this is where you need to go. But I think once you've done that early research stage, it makes that a lot easier to identify.
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of your advice is centered around like picking the best thing for you. There's not like a one-shot thing to make a community perfect. It really depends on whether it's a game or what type of thing it is. And in terms of keeping that community alive then, because obviously there's always so much hype in the beginning when you start something new, because it's new and shiny and people are interested in seeing that. But you want longevity for your community as well, and you want your community engaged for a long time. So in terms of how do you keep the community alive, what kind of tips do you have around that?
Give them something to chew on. Content. Luckily, now we know that content is key. We're living in an age of social media. When I started in 2007, content strategy and social media strategy wasn't even a thing. Like, there was so few people that were doing it and doing it well and understood that. And one of the terms we use is sticky, making sure your community is sticky. That's why people stay. In essence, at this point, if you've got people that are around, content is key. And having an authentic voice, keeping content regular, pre-staging content as a landing point, and calls to actions based on content are all key steps to getting a community to stay. For example, don't launch an Instagram account with no pictures on it. How will I know I want to follow it? So, like, if you were launching a game, you're like, all right, follow us on Insta, and I go there and there's nothing there. I'm like, I don't really have a lot of time. I consume a lot of content on Instagram. Why would I give you the follow? I can't really see what you're making, or shots from your game or your community. Like, I really do love dogs, and you've got a dog community, but you haven't posted any pictures of dogs. How do I know you the page? Show me pictures of dogs. So
that'll get me straight away.
So that's, it sounds silly, but a lot of the times I do see people making these mistakes. Same with forums or Discord channels with no questions, guides or experience sharing already there. How will I know that your Discord channel is where I want to hang out if there's nothing in there? I don't want to be on, like you said, I don't want to be on that empty dance floor. And making it personal is key to that. Like I was saying, authenticity earlier. There's a reason that personalization on Twitch has become so important. It lets people know your personal brand. It gives viewers a sign that they should hang out on your page. So, like, for example, with Women Making Games, there's a bunch of stuff you can tell from landing on that homepage that makes you want to stay there and hang out. Everything you put there advertises your community. You need to be able to socialize and promote anything that signifies that you have an active and healthy community, so that other people want to hang out there too. It's like I said about that anticipation, feeling that exclusivity. Oh, look, there's all these pictures of these awesome devs hanging out. I want to be a part of that. So, change things up if they're not working, create content to get people talking to each other. And once you've got that content, market the hell out of it. So this is also a gift gaff. We called this signposting. So your content strategy is key when it comes to signposting your community. And if your studio does have budget, make the case for spending money, not just on marketing your game, but marketing the community itself, which a lot of the times people don't really think about. If you don't have that budget, then signposting and community campaigns, running specific campaigns to recruit people to your community, can become the greatest tool for those activations. And this requires like a really obsessive, it's about me today, me play when it comes to, you know, asking for dev time and stuff like that. Some of this stuff, you know, is free as well. It's just about asking the questions about where on your page or where on the points where people are playing your game or seeing your Twitch page or are a part of your IRL community, do they know there's a community there? Is there a link to your community platform on the front page of your game site? Is there an email you can send out to let people know there's somewhere they can ask questions if they want to ask questions about the game? Are you in all the places online where people might be looking for you, where they can find you? Like there might be a whole subreddit going, I really just want like a dinosaur game where I can just be hiding from raptors. And then you can be, you know, you might not even know there's people there that are asking for what you've made. And they might be there. If you're sending out swag, do you have like a really cute piece of paper inviting people to hang out in your Discord channel? Is it on the box? You know, there's stuff like this where there's so many different ways where you can be talking about your community and it doesn't cost anything. It just says you just need to make sure to make the case for it with that dev team and with the web dev team and with your marketing team. And some of it is stuff that community devs can do as well. Like for example, on with Eve Valkyrie, I replied to every single mention of Eve Valkyrie on Reddit, even if they didn't like the game, with a friendly response and a link to our forum so that they could find us. And I might have looked a little bit eager doing that, but it showed them where we were, it showed them where the devs were, and it showed them where I was. So even if they didn't like it, there was somebody there that just popped up where they were hanging out to say, hey, come over here. This is where, yeah, you're angry? You're like, great, come talk to us over here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's like,
I was going to ask you around like, how do you keep that authentic communication with the players then, so that you are being honest and open with them and you're not just being corporate? Or is there times where being corporate is appropriate? You know, what kind of level of authenticity do you want to get out there, really? I suppose it depends on what you're trying to promote, but it's good to know because that's a question that is often asked, isn't it? So
yeah, I think like it depends on what it is. I think obviously if there's more serious stuff happening, you do need more of a corporate line of, hey, we've had to delay the release of this game, or this, you know, that there's stuff where you do want to talk about some serious stuff. Like this has been a big year for talking about incredibly serious societal stuff that a lot of brands have gotten on board with and are actually keen to talk about. So there's definitely time for that. But then at the same time, for example, there's the wonderful Ollie from Fall Guys, who runs his Twitter and runs the Twitter, and it was the fact that it was authentic and funny, and you could tell there was a person behind that brand account that made people want to hang out there and ask him questions and play with the brand. And you can just tell the difference with that stuff. So I mean, David Spinks has like these rules to authentic content. One's like consistency, keep creating even if nobody responds, which I do kind of like, but I think there's an addendum like, but don't be an idiot. So like how often have you seen a streamer or a games company be like, hey guys, what are you playing this weekend? And it's just a tweet that goes out like every Friday from so many different accounts. And that's not going to work if you're a brand new IP, because no one's following you. And because, like, for example, every brand account asks the same questions. It's gendered. Hey, guys, so you might be alienating some of your audience. If no one replies, you look kind of lame. You just look like you're talking to no one in the street.
Yeah, it's quite embarrassing when it's just tumbleweed and nobody replies to your kind of comment there. And it's just like, just hangs around, and you've got just a line of those tweets that nobody replies to. Exactly. It doesn't always look the best when people do finally find you.
It doesn't look like you're paying attention as well, because if no one answered you the last time, why would you do the same thing again? It can be timing. You're tweeting it on a Friday at 10 a.m. Everyone's at work. They're not in the mindset. The GIF you've used is the first one in the GIF suggestions, so everybody knows you've just been a bit lazy with it. Like it's just, it didn't take you long to type, like, find video game, go down, click, done. There's no call to action or to join a community or to really respond or to get them talking to each other. It adds no value for them. So like, and also you sound like a brand or like a social media person or ingenuine. You don't want to know what I'm playing. You just want the replies. Like, you know, it's 2020. People know that these are social media people running these accounts.
Yeah.
I know that that's an auto-scheduled engagement tweet. Everyone knows that. So you've got to come up with stuff that is authentic. And if you do want to ask them questions that you think they actually do want to answer, and stuff that might actually sort of show that you're a cool person, cool brand, cool team that actually cares about them too. So like, you know, if your Twitter replies are dead, go back to part 1. Have you thought about where the people are that actually want your game or your content? Like, again, I say Fall Guys because they're just such a brilliant example of this. Same with like, if you're a streamer, like looking to build a community, like one of the biggest things when I was working at Caffeine was they'd just be like, I'm live. And all it would be is a live link and then a link to the stream. I don't want to watch that because you're obviously not on this platform. It's probably an auto tweet that's come up from your stream and it just doesn't feel authentic. It just feels like there's nothing interesting happening over there and there's no kind of excitement about that. But if you work out what you want, for example, like, you know, let's say like you develop Skyrim or something. I could build a relationship with that studio, go where that community is and run an event there, ask them to stream with you, give away codes and swag based on what those people want, and ask them bigger questions. So for example, instead of just going like, I'm live, I'd go, hey folks, I've got Sally from Women Making Games on my stream today. Tune in now to ask them questions on game production, win their new game, and it's the same time at always 7 p.m. and a link to the stream. And for me, that's like not alienating. Oh, the stream's for me. Oh, I love Sally. That's cool that Stevie's got Sally on. That's great. Oh, she must care about the same things I do. Oh, I get to engage and take part and ask questions. That's brilliant. Oh, I could win something. Sweet. I'm rewarded for being a part of this community and something I actually want. Oh, there's a link to the stream. Let's check it out. Oh, there's people here who also like the same things I do. We all like Sally. We all like Skyrim. This is great. Oh, and Sally's got like pink unicorns on her page, and that's super positive. Like this
seems accurate.
This is the energy I needed today. Like this is what I want. Oh, and she said like 7 p.m. as always. So now I know that like she's on the same time every night when I like to eat dinner and just sit there watching a streamer. Perfect. I'm going to hit subscribe, and that's, you know, there's just these basic things that make it just a lot more sticky for you to get people on. And then once you've recruited someone like that, you have an active, engaged community member. And just like that, it's not just you shouting out into the void, you've got a community member.
And I guess the community talking to each other is really important as well. So it's not you just talking at them. They start then engaging with each other, which is obviously something that we saw with WOMG as well. And it's like you said, you know, they jump into the group, they see everybody else talking about things that are meaningful to them and, you know, subjects that they understand and feel like they wanted to get off their chest or they wanted to ask advice. And then the community starts sort of building itself in a way because they start like engaging with each other, and you don't have to necessarily do as much because it's quite organic that way. And that kind of brings out that authenticity as well, which kind of wraps up really neatly everything that you've said, which is obviously you need to be authentic, and that comes from developing the community, and they will discuss that amongst themselves and being specific to the community as well. So not like having very generalized, you know, throwaway stuff. So and it seems to just kind of ultimately, how do you know that you've got a good community then? What does that look like to you when you can pat yourself on the back and you're like, hey, I've done a good job of this and I'm happy with it, sort of thing?
Oh, I think like everyone's got a different sort of example of like, I think, you know, obviously for dev companies, they see numbers as the big thing, like how many people do you have? But to me, it's if they're talking to each other. I think that if you know, step one is to get them talking about your game. Get them talking to you about your game. You know, that's an easy one. Hey, do you like my game? Yes, I do. Step two is getting them to talk to you about why they like your game. You know, did they refund your game? What's that? But like you say, if you can get them talking to each other, if you can prompt questions and ideas and celebrate their UGC and organize play sessions, then that's a healthy community because they're helping each other out and they're playing with each other and they're enjoying being a part, belonging to something. And I think that's the key thing about, you know, being in a community. And yeah, like you say, it's about like, getting those super users and promoting them. Like once you get those hardcore fans, again, the streaming community does this so well. I'm watching a streamer, they've noticed I've been here for 3 days in a row. Cool, now I'm a mod. It's like what you did with the admins for Women Making Games. You saw that we were passionate and we wanted to do more, and then you gave us the authority to be able to help grow the community. And that's how you win. And I mean, there's sort of 3 different ways you can bring that value. And I think if your community has value to it, then that's what makes a successful community. So there's sort of 3 different things. The first is educational. So members teach each other. So for example, Women Making Games, like there's the drawing group. We just had an amazing cuddle course. She's a fighting game expert. She's like expert at Tekken. So we had her do tutorials on PC Gamer. ICM, a site called Tom's Hardware, which is 70% people troubleshooting each other's computer hardware programs. So that's not the game site or the editorial team providing that content. That's them helping each other out, and it's just something that just turns now perfectly. I was a CM at GiftGaff, so our members ran the customer support for the company. So the value was that they were bringing it to each other rather than us bringing it to them. There's a massive community for things like Minecraft tutorials, speed runs, all areas where even though you've provided the content, your community is providing the value. And I think, like, rather than any kind of numbers or things like that, I think a successful community is one that provides the value like that. There's also, I mean, that's educational, but there's also the kind of different ways you can look at it is emotional as well. So members seek support and understanding from each other. I actually think streamers are more this community than even just providing games content, because streaming's gone beyond just games entertainment. It's not that one-sided viewing experience. Like even the meanest, angriest streamer in the world has people that want to watch them. Aside from how good they are at the game, they want to watch them because they connect with that person. Like for example, if you look at Critical Role, it didn't just shoot to fame because D&D is a cool game. It is, but that's not why. It was about, RPG nerds finally finding a group of people who understood them, who understood what they loved, and they saw themselves in those people. And they got to turn on the TV every night and see people that cared about that game too. And that's where the value is with Critical Role. So more so even than the content they were providing, it's the fact that there was that emotional connection to the content and to the material and to those people. And the third's aspirational. So that's like members supporting each other and keeping each other accountable to achieve a goal. So Women Making Games is a beautiful example of that. So a lot of the best examples for this sort of community are IRL communities. So communities that, actual neighborhoods and stuff like that come together to do good, raise money for charity, Black Lives Matter, want to problem solve. There's so many different communities that are coming together to try and fix something that they feel is broken, or that they know that if they work together to achieve a goal, they can do it. And once you get those people who find each other that have that common goal, it just rolls by itself. And when you find those people, the people that want to help your community develop and grow and see the value in it and in what you're doing, reward them, keep them, give them work to do, thank them, buy them a coffee. No, buy me a coffee. When you when you give your community the power to help you, be it like making them moderators, asking them for game feedback, I mean, like stuff like coming together for a common goal, like game feedback is one of those big ones where if you have a one-sided community where you're not asking for feedback on your game, they're not going to stick around because they don't feel like you're listening to them. And they want to be able to help you, and they want to be able to make the game as good as it can be. I mean, the EVE Online community and the player-run council for EVE Online is a massive example of this, where the reason a lot of them have come together is to make that game better. And that's what makes it sticky, more so even than the amazing sci-fi game itself, or the fact that there's funny videos or big meetups, or that it's sci-fi, or any of these other reasons. It's because they've come together to build something that they feel like they have ownership of. And once you've got that, you're golden. You're not from scratch anymore. You just learn, develop, and grow.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's really nice to hear about like the difference that good communities can make, because you were talking there about like activist groups and all sorts of things, but also just in terms of game development, there's a lot of games that are game as a service now, and so your community is the soul of your game often as well. So it's just really obvious how important community is these days, and how important it is to really think about that, not just about developing the game, but also about how your players will react to your game and how they will communicate with each other, and how to include, even including tools within the game for them to communicate well with each other. So yeah, no, it's been really interesting to hear your thoughts on that. And obviously you're extremely experienced in doing it, and you've seen how community has changed over the years, and you've definitely helped us develop one to a place where I can see people helping each other. And we've had people say, you know, it's helped me with my career, or I found a mentor this way, or, you know, and stuff that's just really wholesome and just really nice to see develop. So yeah, it's been really great to see the progress there.
Yeah, and I mean, the lovely thing is we've just built another one, which is lovely. So whilst we've all been sat here doing this talk at Develop, we've been here with everybody who's been watching this with us, who's interested in learning how to grow a community. So we've currently been growing a community of community developers, which is also it's like, I was doing it all along.
It's all very meta.
I didn't just talk to them, I got you to talk to me, and then I got them to talk to each other. So that's the bit I need to do now. So everybody that's watching, you will need to now talk to each other. So like share your Twitters, share everything about that. When they tweet out that this talk's happened, respond to it saying you enjoyed it. That way you can talk to each other. If you want to follow Sally, what's your Twitter?
So it's Violixia. It'll be down below. I'll put a little thing popping up saying what it is so you can follow us.
And I'm Stevie SG, Stevie_SG. So follow us too, so we can all become an even bigger community. And I really loved doing this talk. And thank you so much, Sally, for doing this with me. I loved it.
No problem. And best of luck, everyone, with building your communities. And yeah, we hope to see them all flourish. Thanks very much, everybody. Bye.